Says we're live.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the MMA Live Chat Show. I'm Rich Davie and it's Tuesday, September 16th, 2014. On today's show, we'll be discussing the TUF 20 Episode 2 Calderwood vs. Kagan show taking place on TUF this Wednesday, September 17th, 2014. We'll also talk about the disappointment with the coaching style that some of the ladies are going to express on this week's episode. And if we have time, we'll likely do a final thoughts segment as well. On today's show, we have yours truly and Brandon Gazelle. Thanks for taking part in another show, Brandon. I appreciate you taking time to be here and joining me to discuss the TUF 20 Episode 2 Calderwood vs. Kagan show. Go ahead and say hello to anybody that might be listening, buddy.
How's it going, everyone? Glad to be here.
Okay. And thanks again for being here, bro. I appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem.
All right, let's go ahead and get started here. First off, I just want to do a very quick recap of the last fight between Ronda Marcos and Tecia Torres. Ronda Marcos got a very big upset win over Tecia Torres on episode 1. And did you happen to catch that fight, Brandon?
Yes, I did.
And what did you think of that?
I thought it was a spectacular fight. I'm always rooting for the underdog, though.
Me too. I'm an underdog picker as well.
Yeah. Only thing I mean, this week I'm not going for the underdog. I can't. I can't go with the underdog this week. I've got to go.
How did you score that last one though? On the first episode there, did you have Marcos winning that, or because a lot of people thought it was very close, it could have gone either way.
I had 29-28.
For
what are their names? I'm sorry.
Marcos or Tecia Torres?
I'm sorry, Tecia Torres. I'm still trying to get these females all sorted out. It's still so new. But yeah, I'm going with Marcos on that. She definitely took it to Tecia Torres. Tecia Torres, she was dominant in the first round, but the second and third, it just seemed like she fell off.
Yeah. Yeah, I said the same thing on the last show that we did on this, where we actually covered the episode 1 show. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Tecia Torres started out great in round 1, and then in round 2, Marcos came out, and she just dominated her. And that brutal ground and pound that she put on her, it just seemed to have taken the life out of Tecia Torres, and it made her very hesitant. Actually, in the third round, there, both of them were kind of hesitant to engage, but I think Tecia Torres more so, and I think that's actually what cost her the fight there, because round 3 was pretty close. Round 1 was definitely Tecia Torres. Round 2, clearly Ronda Marcos, and round 3, it actually could have gone either way, but I think Ronda Marcos, because she was a little more, dominant and pressing the action. And, Tecia Torres, was really kind of, timid in round 3. I think that's what cost her and, gave the win to Ronda Marcos. It wasn't really so much that, Ronda Marcos actually dominated her and beat her in the third round, which gave her the fight. I think it was actually, Tecia Torres actually just not, going hard enough as she did in the first round. And if she would have fought like she did in the first round, she probably would have won the fight.
I agree with you completely on that, Rich. And, the funny thing is, Ronda Marcos, she actually was winded after the second round. Like, she was laying on the mat. I thought she was going to get beat up in the third round.
Yeah, I was wondering there, because wasn't that that was a sudden death, wasn't that, or a sudden victory, whatever they call it?
They went to the third round.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe she was thinking that she lost, but how could she think that she lost when she beat the hell out of Tecia Torres in the second round?
I don't have a clue. I mean, maybe she thought she won. Maybe she thought she took part of the first. I don't know.
Me too. You could be right there.
Yeah. All I know is at the end of the second round, she was laying on the mat, and she wasn't getting up. And then you had to have Anthony Pettis come in and pick her up and get her in the corner, get her going. And I thought, coming into the third round, she was going to actually lose because she was so winded. Tecia Torres looked fresh.
Yeah. But she was timid again. Like I said, it seemed like she was afraid to engage. Like she didn't want to get taken down and get pounded again.
Yeah. I mean, well, complete dominance when you're getting laid on top of and getting, beat up and you can't transition, you can't really get out. Anytime Ronda Marcos, she would go for the mount, Tecia Torres would get half guard, and that was about all she would really do. Is she would go to half guard, hold her, and she wouldn't try and get to her feet. I mean, from the mount, she was doing good, getting back to half guard, but she wasn't fully committing. And that was her problem.
You were like me in that when you were rooting for the underdog.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see Marcos, and I mean, she came from a background where she had to escape someplace in the Middle East. I can't remember if it was Iraq or Iran, but I was glad to see her come out with the victory.
Yeah, yeah, I was too. And they did say that there were some problems with Randa Marcos and a couple of the other girls. I mean, she seems like a very nice girl to me. I didn't see anything, on that first episode that would indicate, there would be any sort of problems with her. She seems nice enough to me.
Yeah, she did seem nice. I just liked her dedication. She was very dedicated and very motivated to just get in there and fight. As to where Tisha Torres wasn't really that way. She was kind of, I don't know if she was arrogant or full of herself. I don't know if she thought that this was a gimme fight because, Tisha or Randa Marcos was ranked, what, number 14?
Yeah, I think she was ranked, 14.
Yeah. So I don't know if she thought it was a gimme fight or what. I don't know. She just didn't seem confident as Randa Marcos. I was glad to see her get the W.
Yeah, because I actually saw a lot of people mention that same fact, on Twitter and Facebook and so on and so forth, and out there in the MMA universe on the internet there. A lot of people were, saying that it looked like maybe Tisha Torres underestimated Randa Marcos there. So maybe that is what happened,
It could very well be.
I mean, she was one of the favorites to win the season. And, what I don't understand here is they're talking about she may be able to come back. Well, how is she maybe going to be able to come back? I understand that, sometimes fighters get injured and so on and so forth. But if that's the case, I mean, they should pick one of the other girls who didn't make the top 16, because she already had a fight and she already lost. So why should she get a chance to come back,
True. I did see a preview, though, where there was an injury in the season. So I don't know if it's her coming back or someone else, but I did see an injury later on in the season from one of the previews.
Yeah, that just doesn't seem right to me.
No, I mean, but
I wanted to ask you, go ahead.
I was just going to say the show it's taped and recorded before, it even airs. So, I mean, that could have been just build up, just something to hype the fights even more.
Yeah. There was also something where one of the fighters, it looked to be like in one of the previews that we saw, the snippets and the blurbs of one of the previews, that looks like one of the ladies is having a hard time making weight. There's a couple of ladies there who are pretty big. I mean, it looks to me like a couple of those ladies, maybe 3 or 4 of them, cut a whole lot of weight to make 115.
Yeah.
Because some of those ladies were fighting at 125, and they're probably walking around at 135, 145.
Who is the blondie on the season? She takes all the selfies of herself.
Oh, Felice Herrig. I love her, man. I was never really a big fan of hers, but I love her now. I mean, I started following her on Facebook, and she's a clown. She's she's kind of hilarious. Seems really friendly, really nice. What were you going to say about her?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that Felice Herrig, what the hell was I getting at? I can't remember. Let's come back to that.
You were talking about the selfies and...
No, I was just trying to figure out who the girl was, but I can't remember where I was going with it. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, she seems like a really nice girl, and I was actually surprised that she was ranked number 6, but, I guess, looking at some of the other girls there, they don't have as many fights as her, so, I thought about that after the show where we, spoke about that. And, it seems reasonable to me that she was ranked number 6, but it also seems kind of funny that, the way that the rankings worked out, that she's seated up against that...
Yeah, her rival.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's her name? Man, I'm so bad with names.
I can't think of her name either right now either. I mean, I'm not really a fan of hers because she seems, I don't know. She seems kind of like a troublemaker to me.
She does. Seems kind of arrogant. I mean, she just wants to get that rematch in because I guess she had her arm broke by Felice Herrig.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not really the best of friends there. And Felice looks to me, I don't know if you followed Felice at all, but, when I started following her, she, wasn't really all that physically built the way that she is now. And, man, her, progression and, the way that her body has, matured into, she looks, pretty damn strong. Like she could do some damage to some of those girls. So I'm dying to see how well she performs on the show.
I would like to see that too. I'm looking forward to the rematch between her and whatever her name is. I'm going to look it up real quick. TUF 20 cast. Well, I just don't like being prepared, and I mean it's just so new that I don't know. I like being prepared for things.
Me too, but I've been having lots of problems with YouTube myself here. I mean, I'm having problems where YouTube is eating up all kinds of resources on me, and I primarily try to use Google Chrome as my primary browser, because Internet Explorer, which I used to be a big fan of for years and years, it seems to be giving me all kinds of problems, and lots of websites are having issues with it. It doesn't display things properly. So, I've gone to Google Chrome now after being a huge proponent of Internet Explorer, but now it seems that now that I've switched to Google Chrome, I'm having all kinds of problems with Google Chrome. It's like every time they update it or they update, YouTube, it's like, I don't know what the problem is, but it seems like the more they update and improve it, the more problems I have with it.
Yeah, I've actually been having problems with the Internet Explorer. I love it. I'm used to it. I don't know. I'm thinking about switching over to the Google Chrome. My brother Damon, he keeps telling me about it. Switch over, switch over.
Yeah, I mean, I gave a lot of people shit for not using it. I mean, Internet Explorer is definitely the safer browser, but it's much slower. And that's why people like to use, Google Chrome, because it's so much faster.
Yeah. I'll have to check into that.
Yeah, I'm a computer technician. That's what I do for a living, actually.
Yeah, see, I'm an automotive tech. I work on cars, not computers. When it comes to computers, I'm pretty much illiterate.
Yeah, when it comes to cars, I suck out loud. I can work on small engines because I had, a long time ago I was a, landscaper, and I had a business doing landscaping. So, I mean, I can work on, two-cycle, four-stroke. Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, you've got your two-stroke, and then you've got your four-stroke. The two strokes are the gas and oil mixture, and the four-stroke has got the oil in an oil pan, and then it just combusts the gasoline by itself.
Yeah, but that was almost in another life. Did you find out who that fighter was? I can't think of her name.
I've got it pulled up. Hang on.
I guess I can pull it up there.
Heather Jo Clark.
Yes, Heather Jo Clark. She'll probably be upset that we don't know her.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, I know her
from... She's coming into the show.
Yeah, I know her from the problems that she's had with Felice, but for some reason her name just does not stick in my mind.
No, it doesn't here either.
Okay, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see that matchup there because Felice looks a lot
hang on 1 second, bud. I'm getting okay. Sorry, I was getting an advertisement popping up in my headset.
Okay, no problem.
All right, yeah, I closed the window out.
Yeah, so I'm dying to see that fight there because, like I said, Felice just, has evolved physically, and her physique is so much more powerful than it was in the past. And, I mean, I think she could, get a couple of knockouts the way that she's looking,
She looks like a pretty beastly woman. I mean, her upper body her arms, I don't know. She does look like she's got that knockout power. And she doesn't look like she likes to play around when she gets in there.
And her legs, too. Her legs are really strong as well.
Yep.
Okay, any more comments on that before we actually move on to talk about the matchup here?
No.
Okay, let's talk about the TUF 20 Episode 2 Calderwood versus Kagan matchup. And like I said before, it's happening tomorrow night, Wednesday, September 17th. And it should be a pretty good matchup there. I know that you said you typically root for the underdog, as I do as well. But in this one here, you've already said you are not rooting for the underdog. You want to go with Joanne Calderwood, who, again, she's ranked number 2, and she's a favorite to win the season, one of the favorites anyway. And, she is actually 27 years old from Scotland with a record of 8-0. And Emily Kagan is 32 years old from the USA with a record of 3-1, who is ranked number 15. And, that's a weird, way that they've done the show this season with that new twist of the seeding and how they match the girls up. I just think that's kind of weird where you're taking, what you perceive to be, the number 1 ranked fighter versus the number 16, the number 2 of 15, and 3 against 14. It just seems weird to me to, put the fights on like that. What do you think about the fight and the way they've got the rankings this season and how they match the fighters up?
Well, I'll touch base on the rankings first. I don't really like it. It almost does seem like a gimme for the higher-ranking fighters. It's almost like they're pushing them through because they're matching them up with the underdogs, like the lower-ranking people. And I'm not really a big fan of that. I think the coaches should have been able to choose the fights. They should be able to pick, just like the previous seasons. But for the actual fight itself, I have to go with Joanne Calderwood. I'm going to pick her for the win of the season. I think she's going to walk out with the belt. I've watched her fights and her highlight reels, and she is a beast.
She is.
She is a dominant beast with her Muay Thai. Those knees, when anyone steps on the inside, she comes with these knees and she leans back and, you know, they don't touch her chin, and she will hit you in the liver quicker than you can even realize what happened.
And it's so funny when you look at Joanne Calderwood. She's such a beast inside the the ring or the octagon or wherever she may be fighting. But I don't know if you've ever seen any of her interviews or anything like that. She's so soft spoken outside of the cage, you know.
That's what I love about her. She's the quiet person that you don't mess with. It's the quiet people in this world that if you pick on them, I mean, they'll snap on you and hurt you. I'm going with her. I have a feeling, a gut instinct, because she is so quiet and she is so timid. I love that. I don't like the pompous arrogance that some of these people put on. Like, you like Felice Herrig. I'm not a big fan of hers because of how flamboyant she is and all these selfies, and she kind of hypes herself up. I don't really like that in fighters. I like the quiet ones, the ones that are going to surprise you. Like, say, Rory McDonald, when he came into the octagon, that guy was quiet. Nobody really knew who this guy was, but he was a beast. And that's why I'm going with Joanne. I'm going to stick with my girl.
Yeah, I'm typically, the same as you. I typically don't like braggadocious and brash and, harsh, fighters, but, she's not really that brash and harsh. I mean, she does take a lot of selfies and promote herself, but, her image is how she makes her money, so,
Right.
when I came to terms with it, I really don't have that much of a problem with it because she's not really rude and nasty to other fighters. I mean, when it's coming down to, getting into fighting somebody, yeah, she gets, a little carried away sometimes inside the, the cage. And, like in that one fight, I can't remember who. Oh, it was actually that same girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, that was one instance where she got a little out of control, and she actually apologized for that. But, typically she's not really, brash and, conceited and, bragging on herself. And, you don't see that kind of thing. Her thing is more about promoting herself, interacting with the fans, promoting her sponsors, which is, good to see a fighter do that, because I see a lot of fighters that they really don't interact with the fans and they don't promote their sponsors as they should, So, it's kind of nice of her to take her time every day and do that and interact with the fans. And she's always doing giveaways and, signed photos and things like that, And again,
No, see, I don't see that side of her. I don't have a Twitter account, and I don't follow her. So, I mean, that's all new information to me, and I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to see that people are stepping up and recognizing their sponsors, because their sponsors are how they make their money.
Yeah, I mean, and she's the first one to, come out and say, hey, I really appreciate this sponsor doing that, and, this sponsor is giving a giveaway, and she always is promoting and trying to give things away to her fans. And you don't see a lot of, MMA fighters doing that. They really, again, like you're saying, and I hate to say this, but, a lot of what you see on Twitter and Facebook is pretty much egos,
Yep, it is.
And I don't get that vibe from Felice Herrig when I'm watching her promote herself. She's not really, promoting herself and bragging on herself. She's putting herself out there so, people become, a little more interested in her. Yeah, she, posts some really sexy photos and things like that. But, hey, who doesn't like to look at a little?
No, I don't have any problems with that. My issue with her was what I've seen with her is on this show and the commercials leading up to the show, the square off, when they squared off and she started shaking her fist in that girl's face. It was kind of cocky to me. It was kind of arrogant, and
that's because she was just mimicking and returning what that other girl was doing. I can't remember her name, even though we just mentioned
I know. I'd have the page pulled up, but it started talking in my ear.
Yeah, but yeah, that was in response to what her opponent did. Her opponent raised the fist, and then she, kind of mocked her because she's already beat her once. She was probably going to knock her out this time around, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of going for the underdog on that one.
Well, check her out, man. Check her out. Follow her on Facebook, because I know you're a Facebook fan.
Yeah, I will check her out.
You'll see she's not really brash. She's not rude. She's not disrespectful to the other fighters. She's all about promoting and interacting with the fans and her sponsors and things like that. So it's kind of, a positive thing, more so than a negative thing. I mean, you see a lot of these other fighters where, they're ragging on their opponent, putting them down and mocking them. She's really not that way. She's really down to earth. Seems like a good-hearted person to me. Always kidding around.
Well, I'll check her out. I'll definitely pay more attention to her now that you said something, Rich. I do like that she is fan involved and sponsor involved. I mean, if you've taken the time out of your day to be proactive with the people that are giving you a shot in this world, then most definitely I will give her respect.
Yeah, check her out too. And she's, and rather than making fun of other fighters and, her opponents and things like that, she kind of like, kids on herself where, she does this thing where she sings. And, she's clearly not a singer and she knows it, but she puts out these Instagram videos where she's singing to a song and, half the time she doesn't know the words and, she's not really doing all that good. And she knows she's mocking herself. It's kind of cute,
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. I'll have to look into it.
Okay, so Emily Kagan, she is the big underdog in this matchup, but as we saw last week, sometimes the rankings aren't the end-all, be-all here, but in this instance, I think both you and I agree that Joanne Calderwood will probably get the win in this one. I mean, she's 5 years younger, she's got twice as many fights, and, when you're looking at those kind of, indicators when you're seeing two fighters matched up, typically that's going to favor, in this instance, Joanne Calderwood, because experience 8-0, 3-1, 27 versus 32.
Right. I'm not going to discredit Emily Kagan at all.
Oh.
She did fight Rose Namajunas.
Yep.
That's
Namajunas. Yep.
Yeah, Pat Barry's fiance.
Uh-huh.
That was actually a good fight. I watched it. I mean, it went to the third. There was like a minute and 15 left, and she got choked out by Rose. I mean, she had great sub defense in the first, and it was more or less a grappling match, but she does train under Greg Jackson, and you see a lot of wrestlers come out of that camp, and I have a feeling if she comes on the inside, she's going to catch a knee to the liver, and it's gonna stun her. It's going to affect her cardio dramatically.
Yeah, Jackson Winklejohn, they're a huge camp for employing game plans, and not all of their fighters are successful at it, but lots of times they are. So as long as she's got, those coaches in the corner. I don't know if they're there coaching her on TUF or not, but it would be nice if they were there giving her that support that she needs there because, again, 3-1 going up against somebody 8-0. I mean, I really don't care for that whole seeding and the way that they match the fighters up. Unlike you, I would rather, the upper echelon or the fighters that they perceive to be in the top 10 were actually fighting the top 10 fighters, and then the bottom 5 fight the bottom 5 between each other and, have them work it out like that rather than number 1 against number 16, 2 against 15. It just seems kind of like you were saying. It's, they want to guarantee that the top seeded fighters are going to get a spot, in the semifinal,
Exactly. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm still just not going to discredit Emily Kagan. I've seen her fight, and Rose, she's pretty much a beast too. I mean, her fiance is Pat Barry. She's got some inside edge.
Yeah. I like her too. She's another one who's probably, I don't know what she was ranked at, but she's probably another one who's probably one of the favorites to win that. A lot of people, like her as a fighter as well.
I'm going to go the what is it? 2018. I'm going to go Calderwood, but I think it's going to go to decision. I think that Emily Kagan is going to hang in there to the end. She's a tough broad. She's got a chin on her, and she's got great sub defense. So I think she'll hang in till the end.
Yeah. I'm not going to make a prediction on how it ends, but I'm going to go with Joanne Calderwood. I mean, it would be really interesting. I mean, a lot of the girls, not a lot, but I've seen a few of the girls, because I've started a score account to follow this season of TUF, and I'm watching, a lot of the girls from this season of TUF. I started following them on Twitter and on Facebook, and I see some of the girls saying that, there were probably, we can probably expect a couple more upsets during the course of this season. So, don't know if Joanne Calderwood's going to be one of the upsets, but that would be something if, the number 2 and the number 3 favored fighters were, knocked out early on. It would be really something.
The professional fighters taken out by the amateurs.
Yeah.
That would be kind of funny.
Okay, so again here, you and I both think that probably unlikely that Emily Kagan will pull off the upset, but it would be interesting if she did there. But, a lot of people seem to think that Joanne Calderwood is going to win this fight rather easily. All right, any more comments on that before we move on? I do want to speak about a couple more things.
No, let's go ahead and move forward.
Okay. I did see some uh, news out there. There were some articles published in the World of MMA that referenced the disappointment with the coaching style um, that some of the ladies are going to express on this week's episode. And it looked like, I don't know if they teased it or not, but I do have a visual where I saw, in my mind, where I saw some of the girls, confronting the coaches. Yeah, they did tease it on last week's show. Um, it looked like a couple of the girls are having a problem with the way that they're, deciding to do the training. It looks like some of the girls were saying that they really don't want to change, their style and the things that they're being told to do by the coaches. And they're saying that with only a 6 week, time frame, for the show. And, and again, it's not 6 weeks, between fights, it's 6 weeks in total. So I'm sure that, with some of the fights, some of the girls are probably only having a couple of weeks to get ready for the matchups there. And I don't know, man, I guess it is hard for, some of the girls to say, okay, let me go ahead and, change, my fighting style and my tactics and how I want to approach things. So that seems to be a problem. I don't know if you've read anything on that or you've heard any news on that.
I read the article you sent me, and I don't know. I seen the commercials leading up to this week, and Heather Jo Clark, that's the one that fought Felice Herrig,
Mm-hmm.
she gets the cut over the eye because they're training too hard. I don't know if it's going to be her or if there's actually controversy because of, their fighting styles. Like, some of these girls are undefeated, and if they don't want to switch their style, I could, I can't really blame them. I mean, they're undefeated. But I think the issue is really around the Heather Jo Clark and the cut around the eye, training too hard. Because she seemed like she was crying, and she looked at the coach like, hey, what the hell is going on? Why are you training so hard? Why are you letting these girls train so hard? I'm not used to this.
Did you recall who it was that cut her
The
eye open?
Heather Jo Clark?
Yeah, but do you recall who it was that delivered the damage?
No, I can't remember who that was.
Yeah, because I don't recall, who was on her team, but I know that there were quite a few people that don't particularly care for her.
Yeah, well, I mean, she
A
does
lot of
seem...
times, and one of the reasons I had a problem with Michael Bisping is because when he was on that season of TUF against Matt Hamill, he definitely had a problem with Matt Hamill, and he was telling the other guys we need to go hard on him, and, he was actually trying to hurt Matt Hamill, and he did, during the TUF season. So, maybe the same thing is transpiring here. Being that some of the girls don't particularly care for Heather Jo Clark, maybe they're actually trying to hurt her,
Could be. But I think, if I recall, one of the commercials, somebody switches teams. I thought Dana White moved one
Yeah,
from...
I saw that too. And how did they do that? Because that's going to screw up the whole rankings thing. So how are they going to work that out?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll be cool to see everything unfold. I'm looking forward to this episode. And I really hope that they get higher ratings because these women, they're going out there and they're putting everything on the line. And I give them the utmost respect. They are going out there and they're putting on a better show than most of these heavyweights put on.
Yeah, and that article that I that you mentioned that I sent to you, that was from the Fox Sports Network, the UFC page. And I don't know if any of you all out there listening want to go and read it, but the name of the article is The Ultimate Fighter Episode 2 Preview, A Revolt is Brewing. So there's a little bit there on that page there that tells you a little bit what we're talking about here. And, it does seem to me like, it's probably a combination of everything that we mentioned here. They're going a little too hard. They don't want to change their styles and so on and so forth. So that's probably what it's boiling down to there. So again, if you want to, read that article a little more in detail, that was on the Fox Sports Network there. I mean, the Fox Sports website there, and on the UFC link at the top of the page. When you go there, look for the Ultimate Fighter Episode 2 Preview, A Revolt is Brewing. All right, any more comments on that? There's one more thing that I did want to mention.
No, let's go ahead and move on to the final topic.
Okay, final topic here. There was some talk there that I didn't see a lot of websites putting this information out, but I did see a couple of websites mention this. It seems that MMA fans are not actually tuning in to the season 20 of TUF there. Apparently, a lot of MMA fans failed to tune into the premiere episode of TUF 20, and I'm not quite sure why that is, but they're going to be missing out on some great fights here. And it's actually been reported that episode 1 had some very poor ratings for a TUF show season opener, and the numbers that I actually saw on it were 536,000 viewers, which makes this the worst premiere ratings in the show's history for TUF. So, why do you think that might be, Brandon? Do you think it's just that some fans just aren't into MMA and women's MMA, or that some of the new fans who are just joining MMA, don't really know all that much about the women? Do you think that maybe some of the fans are perceiving women, 16 women in a house, going to be all catty bitching, things like that? I mean, what do you think might be the reason?
It could be a mixture of that, but I think it could also be that the UFC didn't put as much money into advertising this season as they have in the past. I really didn't see a whole lot of advertisements leading up to this season. I didn't really see a whole lot of information out there on these fighters and the build-up. Usually you do see a build-up. You see more promotions with the TUF coaches. I don't know if it's because they're actually streaming the Ultimate Fighter Brazil on the Fight Pass. I mean, they have, God, how many seasons do they have going at one time anymore with Fight Pass?
Yeah, I think they're starting to wear people down. And again, when you're putting TUF on the Fight Pass network, maybe that's why a lot of people just kind of blew it off there. I mean, when they hear TUF, they're going, "Oh shit, that's going to be on Fight Pass, so fuck it,"
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that's kind of my opinion on the subject. I just think that they may have overplayed their cards with the Ultimate Fighter and this Fight Pass. I'm not a big fan of the Fight Pass. If I do end up getting it, it's going to be because of this upcoming fight this weekend. I'm just a huge Takanori Gomi fan, and I'm looking forward to that fight. Plus, I'm a huge Roy Nelson fan.
Yeah, I love Roy Nelson too. I'm really upset with the Fight Pass thing too, and I was going to check it out and subscribe to it, but then after the first Invicta FC event, Invicta FC 8 aired on Fight Pass just recently with that new deal that they made with the UFC. I heard a lot of people bitching about that one. They were saying that it was staggering and stuttering, and the audio was bad, and so that kind of turned me off there. I was actually, I was a little busy. I actually wanted to see that fight because I'm a big fan of Michelle Waterson, but I actually had to work that weekend, and I didn't get a chance to watch that fight there, and I really wanted to see it. But then after I missed it, I was kind of glad I missed it because, I saw a lot of people complaining about the overall quality of it. And to me, I'm not a big fan of watching fights on a computer. And I know you can hook a computer up to a TV and all that, but my particular TV doesn't, communicate properly between the computer and the TV in order to do that. So.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I stand. I mean, it's too much work, too much effort. I just want to grab the remote, turn it to the right channel, and watch TV. I don't want to have to log in, pay money, and all this. Give me my free fights. I've been a fan of the sport for however. It's kind of redundant, if you ask me. I mean, you're taking your fans and you're making them pay for something that should be free to everybody. I mean, you're making some people pay to watch TUF, and then there's another season where it's free.
And it's really messed up too, because you're actually forcing the fans, and I'm going to say that. I know these hardcore fans, nobody's fucking forcing you to do it. Well, yeah, they are. If you want to see the new up and coming talent from the TUF shows around the world, the international TUF shows, you got to pay to see who these up and comers are. Yep. Whereas before that was free. So I think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot with this whole thing here, because a lot of people aren't watching these international TUF events because number one, you've already got to pay to get the upper level sports tier to get Fox Sports 1. And then Fox Sports 2 for me is on a separate tier from Fox Sports 1, so I got to pay for 2 tiers just to get those 2 channels.
Yeah, that's the same for me.
Yeah, and then they're going to force you to to buy the Fight Pass. Enough is enough. I mean, my cable bill is $200 a month, so I'm not real keen on spending even more money, to be able to watch fights that I may or may not watch, because a lot of these international events that they're putting on the Fight Pass are at like 6:30 in the morning, at 2:30 in the morning. It's like, I'm not going to be watching fights at 6:30 in the morning or 2:30 in the morning.
No, I hear you. I mean, it's just another way for them to make a dollar, and it's they're probably hurting themselves more than they are benefiting themselves.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised because you would think that they want to promote these up and comers so that people do know who they are because that last event that they had there, I mean, there was a lot of complaints about that show because a lot of people didn't know who the hell the fighters were. You know.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'm just not a fan of it. I don't know if like I said, if I do get it, it'll be for this one fight coming up. I'll pay for 1 month, and that's gonna be it. I'm a big Takanori Gomi fan. I've been a follower of his since he was back in Pride. I just like his heavy hands, and I like that he will rip the body apart. I mean, he's a true fighter. He kind of brings a boxing aspect into this, and I don't know. That would be the only reason that I would buy it.
Okay, well, we'll probably do a prediction show on that event tomorrow. We typically don't do prediction shows for the Fight Pass shows because, again, in my experience, not a lot of people are watching those. As far as casual, the hardcore MMA fans are watching it, but a lot of people do not watch them. So what I've noticed is that some of the shows that we do that are on Fight Pass don't really get all that many views. So it's kind of like senseless to actually do the shows for those. But on this one here, that's a great card. So we will do a prediction show for that one tomorrow if you
Okay.
can make that one.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's the same time, I should have no problem with that.
Oh yeah, it'll be the same time. Yeah, so if any of you TUF fans and MMA fans are out there listening and you thought that maybe this season of TUF was again going to be on Fight Pass, it is not. It is on the Fox Sports 1 network on Wednesday night. So, again, if you haven't heard anything about the show, it's going to be a great season, probably one of the best seasons that they've had, because this isn't, a bunch of up-and-comers. These are, pretty much women that have been fighting for a while. And, if you're a fan of women's MMA, you'll know many of the ladies that, they have on this season. I believe something like 16 of the women that the UFC signed came from Invicta FC. And not all 16 of the women that they signed from Invicta FC are on this season of TUF, but many of them are because they've already had a couple of strawweight fights or one strawweight fight, I believe, in the UFC, and they've got a couple of women already signed. So, really check it out. It's going to be a great season. Don't know how much cattiness is going to be going on there. Maybe that's one of the reasons some fans haven't watched it because I myself, I don't like when the boys are in the house and they start tearing shit up like they're a bunch of high school seniors. So that's one of the things that turns me off to TUF. But I'm all about the fights, and maybe that's what some of the fans were perceiving. 16 women in the house going to be bitching and crying and moaning at each other, and all the cattiness that goes on sometimes between women. So I didn't see a whole lot of that in episode 1. Did you?
No, I didn't. And to those guys out there that are missing out, I mean, that's your loss. I feel bad for you because you're actually going to miss a really good season. These women, they come out there, they're not afraid to get down, they're not afraid to get dirty. I mean, they're going in there for a belt, for Christ's sakes. This is their life. They're going to throw down. Tune in. It's worth your money.
Well put, my friend. Well put.
No, it's the truth. I mean, they're fighting for a belt. This is their life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, like I said, not a bunch of up-and-comers. These women all know what they're doing, and there's some really tough women this season there. So, again, lots of talent. Don't miss this season, man. Tune in. If you missed episode 1, tune into episode 2 tomorrow night. It should be really interesting. And Joanne Calderwood, great fighter, man. Should be a great fight. I'm really interested to see how that one unfolds. And, again, check out Felice Herrig, buddy. I know you're a Facebook guy, so check her out.
I'll check her out.
To the thing. You'll dig her, man. She's really nice, really down to earth, not brash, not rude. She's kind of cute. She, does a lot of those things where she mocks herself. She puts up a lot of selfies and things like that, and a lot of people knock her for that. If it was a dude doing the shit that she does, I'd kind of say, not cool. But I mean, come on, she's easy on the eyes, in my opinion.
Yeah, see, I'm more of a fan of Marcos. I think she's easy on the eyes compared to Felice Herrig. Felice Herrig's a little bit buff. I don't know. I just watching Marcos fight last week, I was like, oh yeah, there's my crush for the season.
Don't let your woman hear this.
I'm sorry.
I said, don't let your woman hear this.
Oh, she's fine.
Yeah, I used to date blonde women for years and years and years, and then I started dating Asian women. So I'm into this Asian woman phase in my life. But I've been married to an Asian woman for almost 20 years now. So,
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
but I do like the blonde ladies.
Yeah, I mean, she's cute, but I'm still, I don't know, Marcos, something about her. She's just sexy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of sexy women on the show, and I know a lot of guys don't like to hear that. Oh, well, who cares about sexy women fighting? I don't want to watch sexy women fighting. Come on, who doesn't want to watch
Yeah,
a sexy woman kick ass?
yeah, that's just another reason to watch him fight.
Exactly. All right, buddy. Any other comments before we say goodbye?
Tune in, folks. It's well worth your time.
I agree. All right, like I said, we'll do a prediction show for the event this weekend that's coming up. You're more than welcome to join me. We'll do that tomorrow, 5 o'clock, probably same time. And thanks for showing up, buddy. I appreciate it. And
Hey, it's
I'll
not
say
a problem.
goodbye.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me again, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you showing up, man. Truly do.
Not a problem. And if any of these UFC executives are listening in, please sponsor our show.
That
Please,
would be wonderful.
Yes, it would. Giving the executives at the UFC a big shout out. Please give us a big sponsorship. We would highly appreciate it.
Oh, that would be nice. It's funny though. We're probably a little too brash for anything like that. I mean, we're more along the lines of, DFW, the way that we come across, rather than Ariel Helwani. So I don't know.
True.
They gave a couple of people shots. I mean, I see the guy from MMA Roasted was on, and he's going to be a part of the UFC shows on Fox Sports 1. Did you see that last week?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he was on the show. I mean, I didn't particularly care for the way he came across on the show. I like him better when he comes across on Twitter the way that he does. He's pretty funny. MMA Roasted, check him out. On the show, I didn't think it really, fit into the show the way that, they were trying to do it. And then they gave him a little spot at the end of the show, but they gave him a shot. They tried to give, what's that other guy's name? Tommy Toehold. They tried to give him a shot. I don't know what happened to that. That seemed to fall apart. Again, maybe because he's a little too brash with the things that he does, but he's being sponsored by somebody else now. So who knows?
I don't think we're brash. I think we're just honest. I think that's what it boils down to, and there's nothing wrong with honest.
Yeah.
I mean, if we got to tone it down a little bit and then get, a UFC exec behind us, then shit, I'll tone it down. I don't mind.
Yeah, I've actually had a couple.
I don't want to go back and retch on cars anymore, man. I'd rather talk about MMA the rest of my life. I'll do that.
Exactly. I've actually had a couple people contact me,
Yeah.
Nobody mentioning a sponsorship, but that would be nice. It'd be nice to have a sponsor or an affiliate where we could promote, the shows in each other's sites. I'd have no problem with that. All right, buddy. Time to say goodbye. Appreciate you showing up there, so go ahead and say goodbye.
All right. Take it easy, everyone. Tune in for the next show. Tomorrow, what is it, 5 o'clock Eastern Time?
Yep, 5 o'clock tomorrow. We'll be doing another live stream on YouTube.
All right, Rich. Well, you have a good day.
You too, Brandon. Appreciate it.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
All righty, bye-bye.
Take care.